Good evening, everybody. Good evening and welcome. Well, excuse me. Good evening. Hello, Mr. Reel. How are you?
I'm great, RFM. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for joining us tonight on another episode of Mormonism Live, episode number 198. If you can believe it, today's date is October 18th, 2024. It's almost fall, and there's the smell of excommunication in the air. Let's talk a little bit.
It is. I
Yes.
can smell it all the way from southern Utah.
Smells like teen excommunication. So we've got a great show tonight. We've got Nemo, who is the gentleman on the hot seat. And so we'll bring him on. First off, we're going to make a few announcements. The first thing I want to do is I want to talk about this incredible thumbnail for the show tonight. People have seen it, but if you can bring it on, because this just combines everything. I just think it's so great what you've done here. You've got Nemo. It's losing Nemo as opposed to Finding Nemo. Got Nemo's face. Great picture of Nemo there on the Nemo clownfish. And over here, we've got Elder Oaks. He's on Dory. He says, not keep on swimming, but keep on excommunicating. It could have been keep on Xing, except Elder Oaks has a real bad time with rhythm, which I noted to Mr. Reel right before the show, and therefore he put the obligatory white handkerchief in Elder Oaks' left fin. So I feel like this has it all. And even up there above the coral reef, there's a little bit of a Moroni statue you can see peeking up there in the upper left-hand corner.
Yeah. The clownfish may not be able to go into, and that's not the coral reef. What do they call that? It's the place where clownfish are anonymity or something like that.
You mean like sea anemones?
No.
It's not easy to say, especially 3 times fast, but sea anemone?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But it's the place where
creature. Yeah.
It's the place where clownfish are safe. They get stung, but they've through evolution grown an ability to tolerate it, and it doesn't bother them. Other fish can't go into that area because it will sting them and hurt. And so the clownfish are safe, but this clownfish may not be able to go back in there anymore.
Well, this clownfish, that is such a great metaphor for our good friend Nemo. Can we bring him on the screen? Nemo, hello.
Hello. I think that's great.
We were likening you into a clownfish.
The anemone.
You can live in the anemone of the LDS Church, and you get stung, but you've developed an immunity to it. And yet, you may be kicked out of the anemone anytime soon. Boy, I would have to say, I don't even know it's an anemone, but whatever it is. Nemo, what time is it there?
With an anemone.
It's 1:30 in the morning, so 1:30.
Okay. Well, you are amazing. And you actually took a nap before you got up for the show. Is that true?
Yeah, I'm regretting it somewhat.
Coming on the show?
No, taking the nap.
Well, I don't blame you. But try and hang in there. Get some coffee because it's okay now because you're basically out of here anyway. So drink all the coffee you can, pour some Java down your throat, and we'll carry on. We want to talk a little bit about you, and we want to start off with a piece of mail that you received in the post earlier this month. So I'll go ahead and Bill has made this so I can advance the slides. A recent letter from the stake president, yours. Is that Reading stake?
Reading.
Is it called Reading?
Reading, yeah.
Same in Pennsylvania, by the way. Reading, Pennsylvania.
Really? And it's READING? Oh, thank you for that. But this has a mark on the top right of this letter. It says, has Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Sans logo, by the way. Thames Valley, England stake. Is that different?
Yeah. Well, it used to be the Reading stake. It got renamed.
Did it get renamed or downsized or anything?
It got changed slightly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I see I'm going to be carrying this interview tonight.
Sorry, yeah.
It's okay. So,
Not feeling well at all.
Do you have a 5-hour energy there nearby, or maybe a cup of coffee? You could start your apostasy a little early, I guess, if you're post-apostasy.
No, if I duck out, I'll be back very quickly.
You poor bloke. Bill does that every now and again. I'm used to it. But this bears the date of September 4th, 2024. So just 14 days ago, 2 weeks ago today, this letter was dated.
Yeah.
And I've redacted your name and address up there. And it says, Dear brother, Nemo, the stake presidency is holding a membership council in your behalf. Don't you feel honored? The council will be at 10 a.m. This is previous, is the original letter. 10 a.m. on September 23rd, 2024 at the Reading Chapel. I'm glad I asked you that. 280 the Medway. Is that the Medway?
Or the Meadway, I think they
Okay, this is getting confusing. If it's Reading, why isn't it the Medway?
Oh, if you want to know why EAD is said different ways in the English language, we're going to need an entire couple of hours on that, I think.
Well, I've read the Ballad of Reading Gaol, or is it Jail?
Jail.
Gaol. It is pronounced jail. Okay. Anyway, and it gives the no wonder English is such a messed up language. We got it from you. And then it gives the rest of the address in Reading. This council will consider your public statements as well as reported conduct that together suggest you have A, repeatedly acted in clear and deliberate public opposition to the church, its doctrine, and its leaders, and B, engaged in a pattern of intentionally working to weaken the faith and activity of church members, either of which, if established, could constitute apostasy.
Sounds like it's up in the air. By the way, I would think that if your public discourse is what's being used against you, you'll need to be careful because tonight you'll be involved in some public discourse as well.
Indeed.
Well, look, I don't think this is going to hurt you any. You know what I mean?
Can't make things worse.
No,
I don't think so.
That cow has left the barn. During the council, I anticipate that it will take about 15 minutes to present information regarding your statements and reported conduct. That doesn't sound like very much of a case they have against you.
No.
15 minutes. Are you disappointed in that?
I thought I'd done a little better, but 15 minutes I'll have to do, I guess.
You are invited to attend the council to give your response, for which you will be afforded about 45 minutes. You may provide written statements from persons who could provide relevant information. You may invite such persons to speak to the council in your behalf if approved in advance by the stake president. You may also invite your bishop, elders quorum president, or spouse to be present and provide support. So it almost seems like that's limited. Your bishop, elders quorum president, and spouse can be present, but only to provide support. I don't know if they mean it that way. Do you know?
Yeah, those are just there to provide support. They can't necessarily speak. I find it interesting that it says they might provide a written statement from a person who can provide relevant information. How am I to know what's relevant if I don't know exactly what I'm charged with?
I know, and this is one of the things that has really bothered me as an attorney forever, is the violation of due process rights. Now, due process applies in courts of law, but it's based upon a very simple idea, is that if you're going to be held to account for something you've said or done, then you should be given the opportunity up front to know what it is that's being complained of. But they do this over and over. If I were you, and I may someday be you, I would say, look, I'm not sure what it is that you find objectionable that I've said or done. I've said and done so many objectionable things. Yeah, could you be a little more specific, please?
Yes.
All right. Now, the teachings. Oh, Jethro says, Nemo, did or will you ask your stake president if he was recently trained on increasing excommunications, i.e., what RFM recently reported on?
Yeah, I could ask him that. I could bring that up.
It's an interesting idea. Great idea, Jethro. The teachings of the Savior. And here we have the English flourish with the IOUR. Emphasize principles of love, understanding, and excommunication. And it is in that spirit we approach this council. We are also committed to ensure the council is conducted in confidentiality and respect. And we will listen with open minds and hearts as you share your perspective. To that end, this is the big lead in for you can't record what happens. Anyone who attends must be willing to observe the confidential and respectful nature of the council, including its procedures.
I don't think my state president sounds like that.
He doesn't? How does he sound?
Well, kind of like me, I guess.
Legal counsel and supporters beyond those referred to above may not be present.
Yeah,
In
sorry,
addition,
RFM.
yeah, I know. I'll have to cancel my ticket. In addition, to preserve the confidential and respectful nature in the council, no participant in a membership council is permitted to make an audio, video, or written recording.
hmm
It just always strikes me as strange that nobody's allowed to make a written recording when the clerk is there doing exactly that.
hmm
Also, it seems strange that they want you to respect the procedures,
hmm
which is right in the middle of that paragraph.
Yeah.
But DNC says that you get an entire high council in there with 6 of them making sure you're treated fairly.
Yeah.
And you are not being given what the DNC says, which, according to Joseph Smith, came from our Father in heaven.
hmm
Yeah. Any thoughts about that? It's not like even when they have the 12 there, that they actually go through the process as outlined in the Revelations and the Doctrine and Covenants and assign 1, 2, 3, 4, have them pick numbers out of a hat, and at random, the even ones go one way and argue one way and the odds go the other way. So we're so far from that. God doesn't even recognize his own church anymore.
Yeah. But what do you think about that?
Yeah.
I would like to have the High Council there, but that's been denied.
You can thank Bill Reel for that, by the way. He's the reason that they amended the church handbook to make them non-essential personnel in church disciplinary proceedings.
Yeah.
So that was one thing you can't do. Okay. And B, we ask you and any other direct participant to sign the confidentiality agreement set out in the attached appendix. Yeah, we ask you. And if you don't, you can't come.
Yes. Yeah, it's a condition of attendance.
Yeah, that's a little bit more than just an ask, the way I define it. I hope that in the time since you moved to Oxford, and in the many times we have met over those years, you have felt my love and concern for you on your spiritual journey. I think that should be either a period or a semicolon. You have often been in my thoughts and prayers. Now, you actually have a nice relationship with your stake president. Is that true, Nemo?
Yes.
So you've got no reason to think that he's gilding the lily here.
No.
My hope and prayer is that as we meet together, we can find a path forward that aligns with the principles of the gospel and supports you on your spiritual journey. Nemo, do you think that's even a possibility, that there is a path forward in your view that both aligns with the principles of the gospel and supports you on your spiritual journey?
Yeah.
What would that path look like?
It would require them to essentially accept criticism from someone like me, and allow me to retain my membership, because that's in line with Christ's teachings. It's what Jesus would do when there's something going wrong.
Can I ask you, is there anything specific that you're pivoting off of when you say that's what Jesus would do?
Jesus had a habit of going after people who were a little bit too legalistic about things. He wasn't a general fan of those sorts of individuals. Sorry, RFM.
That's okay. We've patched things up since then.
Yeah, I think this sort of level of legalism around the church is something Christ wouldn't necessarily recognize.
All right, very good. Well, it's easy to find in the handbook, at least. You just have to know the number, period, and then the final number. All right, so I hope that, no, wait a second. I already read that. Let's see. Richard Peckjack is in my way. Thank you. If you have any, it's not the first time either, Richard. If you have any questions or need further information about this meeting, please do not hesitate to contact me directly, which I think you have. We look forward to meeting with you and working together in a spirit of love, understanding, and compassion. Do you have any reason to doubt that he's sincere about that?
No, I think that's how he views this. Whether I agree is a different matter, I suppose. But I think he does view it as working in a spirit of love, understanding, and compassion. But he forgot one key word, and it's the spirit of love, understanding, compassion, and loyalty to the church. Because ultimately, I think he's in a position where he's being pressed upon, and therefore doing what he's being told to do.
Right. I thought the one word that you were going to mention that was missing from that was love, compassion, understanding, and truth.
I mean, that is also missing, but that's been missing for a while.
It's kind of the flip side of loyalty to the church sometimes.
Yes. Yeah.
By the way, is it true? I've heard a rumor that in the not distant past, your stake president has given you assurances that there would be no church action forthcoming against you. Is that true?
Yes. Yeah.
Tell us about that, would you?
Yeah, I mean, in previous meetings, I've often raised the concern about the handbook's definition of apostasy and whether that applies to me and should it apply to me and all those sorts of things. And I've received assurances on numerous occasions that it's not apostasy, so that I'm not heading that direction. So it's odd then for this to come forward.
When was the most recent assurance that you had along those lines from your stake president prior to September 4th of 2024, when the letter was dated?
I wouldn't want to put a specific date on it, but it's certainly within the last year.
Oh, within the last year. Okay, so it could be more than
within 2024. No, it's within the last 6 months, probably. To be fair.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, things have changed.
Things have changed.
And we'll go through a few things that you've been involved in because you have been a very, very active Nemo.
Yeah.
Let's get through this rather wordy letter. Oh, Andrew Smith is the Thames Valley Stake president. I apologize I forgot to redact that name.
Yeah, doing all I can to avoid putting his name out there. But yeah, there you go.
Look, if he wants to float the Nuremberg defense, he can do it under his own name. That's all I'm saying. So let me go back here. I'm so sorry. Was there something
someone in the
else?
comments asking if I'm drinking? I'm not. I'm just feeling quite sick and regret waking up at 1 a.m. Clearly, I must have interrupted a particularly deep sleep cycle or something because my body is just not happy with me. But
I'm sorry. Did I mention we're gonna, instead of the usual 3 callers, we'll be taking 23 tonight?
In honor of you, Nemo.
Thank you. Yeah.
Because so many people want to wish you well.
In fact, I'll open up the phone lines now, and we'll have 20 calls lined up by the time we conclude this episode. So,
you know, if I were compassionate, I would cut this right now. But we've got you on the line. People are watching, and we're pushing forward.
Yeah. If I need to go and be sick, I will just go be sick and then come back. That's fine.
That would be great. We'd love that.
Yep. Cool.
If you did
it makes great content, doesn't it?
If you did it on screen, it would go viral.
You probably, it seems like maybe it could be a symptom of losing the spirit.
Oh, it could be.
And you're going to lose your lunch along with the spirit. If you have any questions, this is Andrew Smith continuing with his letter to you. If you have any questions or need further information about this meeting, please do not hesitate to contact me directly. We look forward to meeting with you and excommunicating your ass. Oh, and working together in a spirit of love. See how easy it is to read between the lines? Understanding and compassion. Wow, those are like the 3, I don't know, the 3 things he keeps saying over and over. Sincerely, and there's a very nice signature of Andrew Smith, the Thames Valley Stake president. Now, go ahead, Bill.
What does and again, I don't want specifics. You don't need to tell the entire audience of thousands where he works, but if you could generally, what does he do for a living?
He's a lawyer.
He's a lawyer.
Yeah.
He's a lawyer.
There's a lot of people in the church that do that.
Yeah.
What are you talking about compassion for then? It makes me suspect his sincerity.
He must be a good one because he's in the top 15% of tithe payers, according to Leonard Arrington.
Oh.
To be a stake president.
Wait a second.
Leonard Arrington said that to be a stake president, you had to be in the top 15% of tithe payers in your stake to even qualify to have the calling. So people like me, who was working as a carpet salesman, even though I thought in the back of my head, like, Bill, maybe like you could be something special in the church. The truth is, there's a ceiling if you don't get into that top 15%. So he's a wealthy man at that lawyer. Mr.
Well,
Smith.
And he certainly deserves to be. I will tell you that, as with every rule, there are exceptions. I think that the prior stake president here in my stake was a PE coach at a local high school. So I don't think that he was probably in the top 15%, but maybe because it's kind of a poor stake. Okay, so we're going to go back to this. Oh, I wanted to ask Nemo a question. Nemo.
Yeah.
Have you taken him up on his offer to contact him directly?
Yeah, we've had some communications. The date was changed, for example, so that it wasn't at 10 a.m. on a Monday morning, so that my wife could attend, you know. Yeah, so a date has been changed.
And can you tell our audience when it's going to be?
I said I wouldn't sort of publicize the date. I
Who did
think
you tell
because
this to?
to my state president, because I don't want people to all turn up, and maybe I've hamstrung myself there, but I'm trying to play nice.
Did he
Uh,
ask you for that promise?
the fact that they did it in the morning because they were worried about media attention, and they wanted to present a good image to the media when they turn up. So they didn't want it to be nighttime. They
Well, like
wanted
the
it to
media
be
doesn't work on weekdays in the morning.
well, they thought cameras work better in the day, so they wanted a nice, clear, crisp image. I think they didn't want it to be grainy and gloomy. I don't know, right? That was their excuse. That was their excuse.
Okay.
But yeah.
It's an excuse.
So yeah, it's this week coming on an evening, and you'll all find out, I'm sure.
When will we find out? After the fact?
Probably, yeah. I mean, I might put out some coy message as I'm walking in or something, so that people know it is begun. I've begun to carry my cross up Calvary, as it were, something like that. Sorry, is this what happens when I'm sleep deprived? I ramble and talk nonsense.
No, you
So
become
you're getting
you
the
become
good stuff.
entertaining. You're
Yeah.
very entertaining, as always. So is there anything else that you've been talking? You said multiple conversations with your stake president since
Yeah,
the
some back
receipt
and
of this
forth
letter.
about who can attend and the fact the High Council can't attend, and and whatnot.
Did you
So
ask for the High Council to be in
I
attendance?
did. I specifically asked for them, and
So it was
he has
specifically
declined. Yeah, specifically
denied. Did he
declined.
say why?
No.
Okay.
Other than he's studied the handbook, prayed about it, and decided not to.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's what that handbook needs, is some good praying over.
Mhm.
I will tell you that Bill Reel showed the church once and for all that when you're excommunicating somebody like Bill or like Nemo, you don't want to have your entire High Council present. It comes under, you ever see that poster that says, "Everything I know about life I learned from Star Trek"?
I have not seen that poster.
Great poster. It has one line in it that I remember. And that the line in the poster about everything in life I learned from Star Trek is never put all of your ranking officers in the same shuttlecraft.
Okay.
Do you know what that means?
Well, I would imagine it's similar to don't put all your eggs in one basket. I don't put all your valuable individuals in the same lifeboat, shuttlecraft, whatever, right? Because
Exactly.
if it goes, they all go.
Yes, and that's what Bill did.
Yeah.
And just to note, it's worse than I thought it was.
What do you mean?
It's a list of the top 15 or 20 highest tithe payers. So not the top 15, 20%, just the top 15 or 20 tithe payers. So a 70 or general authority, of course, a 70 is a general authority, but a member of the top 15 or a 70 who comes into your stake to select the new stake president, he has a list with him of the top 15 or 20 highest tithe payers. And that's the list he goes through to figure out who the next stake president is.
I thought that was the list of people that were volunteered by the outgoing state president and, submitted to
They
him.
might recommend some,
Yeah.
but
he's already armed with the info.
And I remember when I was in the church and serving as a bishop and things like this happened, I remember a bunch of people being told ahead of time to come to the stake during that weekend when a new stake president would be selected. And that list of people, those people were there to show up and be interviewed by the general authority. And they reported back. They weren't the ones selected, but they reported back that they were interviewed and then they were asked who they think should be the next stake president. But it looks like there's a lot of pressure, or the process is predetermined to some extent that one of the people on that list of 15 or 20 will be the next stake president.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, I think I shot myself in the foot. I could have been a stake president if I was just paying 50% in tithing.
Well, that's true.
Really
that's the only access to your financials that they have, really, right?
Right.
They must just be extrapolating from tithing data. So.
Well, Bill never wanted to shy away from self-promotion. Has put up a thumbnail from his excellent podcast, which was based upon his excellent excommunication. Former LDS bishop testifies at his own disciplinary council. Subtitle, he said, what?
Yeah.
And so this is going to bring us to the very next point of this letter, because somebody
Yeah.
recorded Bill Reel's excommunication. We haven't quite figured that out yet. The FBI should have a preliminary report coming out any day now on that, because there's an appendix
Yeah.
to this letter. It's 2 pages. The second page is the appendix. Confidentiality agreement, it's titled. And it says, this is for you to sign, and anybody else who's going to show up for you. Like your wife's going to have to sign this too, right?
Yeah.
I acknowledge that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints considers membership councils to be sacred. Can you even sign that part in good faith, Nemo?
I can acknowledge that is how they feel.
Okay.
That's fine.
How do we know this? When have they ever said that? Is that in the handbook? Maybe it's in the handbook.
It is in the handbook.
Okay. So they're sacred. So
Which,
what
of
they're
course,
basically
is the
saying-
fifth. It's the fifth column of LDS Scripture.
Yes.
It's the handbook. So
Yes, ever since they took Mormon doctrine off the shelves.
Mhm.
So to be sacred and confidential, and that therefore participants are not permitted to make audio, video, or written recordings of the proceedings. It struck me the other night that they're treating this like an ordinance.
But we don't sign a confidentiality agreement when we enter the temple. So this is clearly a very high sacrament.
No, you do it after you enter the temple with little to no foreknowledge.
Yes.
Okay.
But you don't do it before, is my point. Yeah. Whereas this,
Right.
I have to do before.
But like baptisms, right? I mean, it is the general understanding, and it may be in the handbook, that you're not supposed to record baptisms, like video baptisms or take pictures or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So it seems to me like they're trying to shoehorn disciplinary councils and give it the same sort of status as an ordinance in this regard.
Yeah. It's a necessary step on the covenant path, according to download jokes, right?
Right, it is. It's a very necessary step. 2, I agree that I will not use any device to make a recording or transmission of the proceedings of the membership council, and that I will not ask or permit anyone else to do so.
Yeah. Now, I have less control over what other people do, I guess. But yeah, I'm certainly not going to be doing that, you know.
What are the laws there in the UK or the specific place where you're at? I mean, I signed a paper just like this. I realized it didn't mean anything. I realized that the church is only using it to hurt your integrity if you record it. If you record it, you're the one who violated it. So in the believer's eyes, you're untrustworthy. But the only way for the general public to recognize that this process is ridiculous is to publicize it. So I signed the paper. It wasn't my recording device. I didn't hit the record button. I didn't even place the recording device into the space where it recorded from. So
I was wondering how you were going to word it.
I like the way you did that.
I want to be honest. You know, I promise to be honest to my fellow
I could
beings.
tell you were straining to be honest.
Yeah. So carefully worded denials are what I was taught by the faith system that told me I couldn't bring a device in. So what are the rules, laws of your area? Not that you've looked into it per se, but just over the course of your life there, how does that work?
Well, I think most makes a really good point in the comments. If I just sign it Clown Lips von Dingleberry, then I'm legally covered. I like that idea. Look, it's illegal to record someone without their consent and publish it and all that sort of stuff, you know. So there's no real way for me to do it legally anyway. So I haven't really given it much thought, to be honest. Because
is your place like here we would say it's like a. I guess I'm asking what the like.
It's like 2-party consent. You know, both parties have to consent to recording and publishing of a meeting or something
which if there's 10 parties in the room, 2-party means all 10 parties.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So everyone would have to agree. So
yes. Well,
yeah.
Regardless, we wouldn't want you to get in any kind of legal trouble and end up in Reading jail.
Indeed. It's a bit scummy. So
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, for all men kill the thing they love. I agree that any materials needed by myself or other participants in the council will be in printed form. No electronic devices will be permitted. That's kind of like, the Natasha Hilfer
incident.
Yeah.
She wanted to use her phone because she got notes on her phone because this is the 21st century. And that's where people keep their notes these days. I have actually gone out and bought a printer for the express purpose of being able to, print and reprint my own documents and check them over, etc. Because it being in printed form is very important. So,
Yeah. And number 4, I acknowledge and agree that my participation in the membership council is conditional on signing and complying with this agreement. They're really trying to say this over and over again so that if you were to violate it, they could say, you didn't do what we made you do. Can I give a serious comment about this?
Yes, please.
There's okay, look, let's go to regular
these
trial,
these
okay?
candies are keep trying to add some sugar to my bloodstream. So off you go.
Is there anything else in those other than sugar?
It's just pure sugar. It's Haribo. I don't know if you have Haribo in America, but
not edibles. Okay. THC.
I'm waiting for you to chew it and then look thoughtfully up into the corner and then say,
what would you
earwax?
Oh, hang on. No, I can do the line. Hang on.
He knows the line.
Alas, earwax.
Perfectly done. I hope you'll do
this. Is what people come to Mormonism Live for. My impression of Richard Harris as Dumbledore.
Richard Harris was spectacular.
Quite right.
He was spectacular in Dumbledore. He could barely move. He was so getting up there, so old, but he just absolutely lit up the screen, I thought, with that performance.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry he only lived long enough to do the first 2. But back to my point.
Yes,
back to my point. Has to do with the law, right? You're out here, you have a trial. There's trials that go on every day in this country. And at the trial, you have a person who takes down the words that are spoken, the transcript. It can be recorded, but frequently we have an individual there taking down the court reporter, right? The purpose for that is if you need to appeal. There is a purpose that the courts all over this country go through all of that trouble. And that's if you appeal, you have to have a record that you're appealing from.
Yeah.
So what we have here, because on appeal, they have to know at the court, the appellate court system, what the heck happened down below.
Yep.
They don't want to be dealing with people saying, no, this happened. No, that's not what happened. This happened. No, that's not what I said. I said something else. Well, you said this.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
have a record.
He said, she said going on.
Yes, we have a record. That is what the appeal is based on. In the LDS Church, it strikes me that we have, or they have in their handbook, an appellate procedure, but they go out of their way to make sure that there's no record.
Yeah, like what am I going to do? Reach out to the first presidency and say, this didn't go right because this, and this. They come back and ask my state president, well, okay, what would you say? And he says, oh, no, we did it fine. He's just, who are they going to believe? Who are they predisposed to disbelieve? I guess would be the
jury's always going to believe the cop.
Yeah.
Since the people who make the appeal decision are the ones who inform your stake president that you needed a church court in the first place.
Yeah. It's just like, it's the same logic as Down Lake Jokes investigating the evidence against Down Lake Jokes, which was exactly what happened. It's the same logic, right?
You can mention it now if you feel it fits in right now.
No, we can get to that. That's fine.
It's just that with the due process, which is totally violated, and with the appellate process by having a record, which is completely violated, this is just a kangaroo court. It's like Al Pacino and Justice for All. This whole court is out of order.
Okay, so how much are you paying me to get that into my remarks?
Which part?
This whole court is out of order.
I'll give you $5.
You have to be out of order yourself first. You got to set this up well. You have to annoy them to the point where they ask you to knock it off. And then you tell them that the entire court here is out of order.
And that's when you throw up all your papers. Okay, but by the way, you have to be able to come back with proof that you did it in order for me to pay out.
I see. I mean, RFM just learned a really important lesson that we should all learn, is you can buy anything in this world with money, including, my words in an excommunication trial. But yeah, that is the problem. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to prove it to you.
What are they going to do? Excommunicate you
again?
Yeah. Well, maybe. What if my stake president personally attests to you, RFM, that I did indeed say this entire court is out of order?
No audio, and it didn't happen. No audio, it didn't happen. Okay,
right,
so can we go back
£5? Yeah.
Who was that person? There was a super chat with a question for Nemo. From Preacher, if you are excommunicated, can you get reinstated to the church, Nemo?
Yeah.
Also, what are grounds to be thrown out of the LDS Church? Let's just make that specific to you.
Yeah.
Because you
I
can
don't
get
know.
thrown out by killing somebody,
Yeah.
by lots of different serious crimes or sins. But the
Mhm.
worst of all is saying that the leadership is out of
Yeah.
line.
Yeah. They're not specific about exactly what I've done wrong, but I mean, the grounds for me are they're trying to establish apostasy, which that has a few different definitions. The two that they're throwing at me from the handbook are displaying a pattern of deliberately working to weaken the faith and activity of members and acting in clear, repeated public opposition to the church. Right? I believe
It's weird.
that's
It's weird how the
Right there in
truth
the middle
does the
paragraph.
former.
No, I'm sorry. They have like 3 sets of AB in this
Mhm.
one letter.
It's almost particularly legalistic, isn't it?
Can we take Preacher's comment down,
Yeah. Yep.
Bill? And I think it's up here. Yeah, there's 3 ABs in this one-page letter. But
Mhm.
here's the first AB, and that's what it is. If you repeatedly act in clear and deliberate public opposition to the church, its doctrine, and its leaders,
And the
Mm.
truth does that.
Yep.
and B, engaged in a pattern of intentionally working to weaken the faith and activity of church members,
And the
either
truth
of
does
which,
that. Yep.
either of which can constitute apostasy.
Yep.
So that's the answer to that question. By the way, about being reinstated, yeah, you can get reinstated.
Yeah.
The only
I'd have to
problem,
grovel.
yes. How are you at groveling?
Not very good. We tend to not bow. I always have the line from Monty Python. Oh, don't grovel. I hate groveling. Says God from the sky. And yeah, I think that speaks to me on a personal level.
By the way, if there's any chance you do want to get back into the church at some point, do keep in mind that resigning is actually harder
Yes.
to get back into the church than getting excommunicated.
Well, because you have to get excommunicated sometime or other, either now or later. If you just stop going to church and you want to get back into church, then they're going to excommunicate you again. Well, not again, before you can come back to church.
Yep.
Okay, so you're going to get it taken care of up front, so there will be no impediment to your rejoining the church later.
No.
Now, you have been getting around. You've been doing a lot of things. You've been poking the bear.
Mm.
And one of them was this, you were on BBC. I understand that's a little radio show over there in England. Is that right?
Yeah.
British Broadcasting Company?
Yes. So the British Broadcasting Corporation famously gave Jeffrey R. Holland a bit of a bad time when their reporter John Sweeney went and spoke to him. The BBC is our national broadcaster. We support it through our TV license payments, so they don't run adverts. Which it must be a strange concept to Americans. If you tune into the BBC here in the UK, there are no adverts other than sort of internalized adverts for BBC programming, like coming up at 9 or whatever. Yeah.
Well, we have NPR over here too in PBS.
Oh, NPR.
PBS doesn't have advertising. It just has insufferable marathon of phone calls, right?
Oh, right. I wouldn't know, but I'm surprised. Having driven down the I-15 and seeing just how much you guys love advertisements and billboards, I am surprised that you have any television programming that doesn't include an advert. So there we go. I've just shown my bias towards Americans. Please forgive me, everyone. Anyway, so this is the BBC. This is our national broadcaster. And this show went out to every local radio station. So BBC Radio Oxfordshire, BBC Radio Leicestershire, BBC Radio London, all that sort of stuff. It went out to every single one of those at 10 o'clock at night. It's the late show. It's for people that are just clocking on to work at that time and people working in hospitals, etc. It's got quite a wide listenership. And yeah, I was interviewed about my Lad Bible interview. I was interviewed about what I do. One of the questions that always sticks out to my memory is, why do you stick your head above the parapet? Why don't you just leave it alone? And my reply is, the church created a very zealous individual for their purposes. And when you lie to an individual like that, they don't tend to just go away. They tend to then want to tell people what they've learned and what's going wrong. So yeah,
it is interesting that in some ways the church plants the seed of its own destruction.
The church made this me.
Yes.
Which right now isn't a particularly threatening prospect, given that I'm like pounding back tiny little Haribos to stay awake. But at full force, I'm a force to be reckoned with, I tell you.
Well,
truth
apparently you
seeker-
are. I'm sorry, Bill.
No, you're good. Sorry about that. A truth seeker isn't going to stop at irrational responses, deflection, and obfuscation.
Mm-hmm.
A truth seeker, which the church grows you into one, it challenges you to be one in some ways. In other ways, it wishes you wouldn't read anything or search anything, and it does that too. But to the extent in which it wants you to be a truth seeker and teaches you that that's what you are,
yeah,
we're not going to run away when people have really bad answers for responses to contradictions in its truth claims.
And I think it's why that J. Reuben Clark quote is so powerful and resonates with members of the church, because we truly believe that we are seeking the truth and that we have the truth. And so therefore it can't be harmed by investigation. And sure, it ought to be harmed if we don't have the truth, but we don't ever consider that we don't have it, because we grow up believing that we do, and we're resolute in the idea that we do. So once you discover that things aren't true, that you've been lied to, then you're gonna go full J. Reuben Clark and be like, right, well, this needs to be dealt with then, because the truth matters. Yeah.
I wanted to mention that this the BBC interview that you did apparently aired. It's called Mormons and Rabbits, and we've had a discussion. None of us understand why it's called Rabbits. We can't view it here. We can't even watch the damn thing because the BBC is so exclusive. And apparently, if you're in England, you can access this, but if you're over here in the colonies, you can't.
I've heard whisperings, rumors, and such that if you use a VPN and you sign up with the postcode of Buckingham Palace, you can listen to it. But I wouldn't encourage anyone to do such a thing. Of course.
But I do note that the date of this was September 2nd, which is 2 days before the letter from the stake president was dated. I'm just saying.
Which, when I met with my stake president on Sunday the 8th to discuss it, because, in fairness to him, he gave me the opportunity to meet and, if I had any questions, right?
Yeah.
He gave me answers so far as he could tell me, because he feels confined by the wording of the handbook that he shouldn't divulge any details or evidence to me at this point. I said, "Oh, is it about the BBC interview?" He said, "Well, what BBC interview?" And I believed him when he said it. Right? I believed him when he said it. I don't think he'd heard this. And then he said to me, "And if you lie to me, this will go down. It will be brought up in my trial that you told me this wasn't about the BBC interview," because he did. He explicitly told me to my face, "This isn't about the BBC interview." Okay. So if it becomes about the BBC interview at any point in the trial, I will return a report and let people know that that I was lied to about that.
Thank you. By the way, I'll just go back and correct myself. My problem is that you blokes over there do your dates all wrong. And you see, that looks like February 9th, 2024 is how we would write that over here normally.
That would be wrong.
I said it was September 2nd. I said it correctly, but then you said you met with your stake president on the 8th, and I thought it was the next day that this would go up on the 9th. That's why I said that.
I see.
Okay, yeah. Well, hopefully I don't know. Do you think your stake president is more moral than Apostle Oakes?
I think I am still in the place where I'm thinking the best of my stake president and trying to give him all the credit I can and all the kind of goodwill I can, because we've had a good relationship up until this point. And I'm sad and disappointed that this relationship seems to have changed without warning. But I want to believe, and I'm inclined to believe, that that's not because he's just decided he's going to not tolerate me anymore, but there's been some training or whatever that means he feels that this is what he should do now.
Right. Well, I don't know. Kicking somebody out of their church can impact a friendship negatively, I hear. Yeah. Some might say. We'll see how it goes. Yes. Oh, and I also want to mention that you were on the Lad Bible program. See how I spelled that in the slide for you? Thank you. You're welcome. Thanks. So this was the thumbnail for what you're on. It says, Mormon, how many wives did you have?
Yeah.
Do you belong to a cult? Mormon, that's you. Mormon answers your questions in the honesty box.
Mhm.
So can you tell our audience, now that it says underneath, it was about a month ago. I got this yesterday for the screen for the
Yeah.
this.
So
So it's about a month ago this happened.
came out around the beginning of August. Yeah.
Can you tell our
Mhm.
audience about that briefly and
Yeah.
what, if anything, your stake president has said about this?
Yes. So this, I was invited to London to Lad Bible headquarters, where many famous bums have sat previously. Lad Bible is a broadcasting platform, a YouTube channel. The YouTube channel itself's got 3 million subscribers. They do all sorts of things. You will have seen celebrities like Snoop Dogg on there, or basically anyone that's doing like a media round for a film will often do a segment on there. You get the 2 co-stars of the film. They'll do agree to disagree. They'll move, or they'll do snack wars, comparing snacks of their home countries, etc. Right? So yeah, so they're a big broadcasting platform, and they have a segment called Honesty Box. And Honesty Box is where you are given a series of questions, and you're asked to answer them honestly and succinctly. And they thought I was the person to do that. And some other people on the internet, through jealousy, probably believed they should have been the people that were asked to do this, and I'm not Mormon enough or a proper Mormon, etc. Right? And I'm sure we'll touch on that, but
You're the only one who's going to tell them the truth. Who said that they
exactly.
should be the ones?
Well,
I mean, how do you think Cardin Ellis would do in the honesty box? Really?
He doesn't even know the names of the members of the first presidency.
He doesn't even know the meaning of the word honesty.
Well, I'm not going to get into that, but
You will,
I
it's
think I did a good job, and the Lad Bible have talked to me since, and they're very happy with the job I did. And at the time, they felt like I was able to really kind of put down good answers quickly, succinctly, and explain some quite complicated things. Mormonism is quite complicated, a lot of in-group language, a lot of unique idiolect, and I feel like I'm able to put that down quite well. So yeah, they put that out. It's got nearly 100,000 views. I have a feeling that this may have also played a role, because I was quite honest about the church, as was asked of me. And yeah, the church doesn't like that.
Okay, I walked all over this. I mean, the in-group language, like codified, I know what you're talking about. So, but were there any names that we would know of people who were putting themselves forward, saying you should have picked me to give the truth about the Mormon
I
Church?
don't think anyone said you should have picked me specifically, but there was lots
shouldn't
of
have picked me.
comments. There was lots of comments from members of the church saying, "Why didn't you get a real Mormon on? I'm happy to speak with you should you wish." Right. So there's people putting themselves forward there.
Yes.
And the vibe I get from some of the commentary on my appearance is that there seems to be an undertone of jealousy there, that people think they should have been the ones, and they're annoyed that it was me because I haven't done it the way they would have done it, and they would have done it better.
I'm sure.
So,
Why did
yeah.
you have Nemo on there? I would have been happy to come on your program and lie about the church for you.
Yeah, or give you the answers the church would want me to give.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
So Theodis J. Whoopi says, Nemo showing up live in Texas to tell the truth was absolutely awesome. Love you, Nemo. How does that make you feel? Good will suffice.
Good. Makes me feel good.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll just stick with one syllable answers to all these.
At the best of times, I am not good with praise or responding to positive affirmations in any sense. That is just the way we do things here. So particularly when I'm this tired, thank you for saying nice things about me. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, you just took something else. Is that another one of those Bernie bots?
Yep.
Bernie bots, absolutely.
Bertie bots.
Bertie bots. Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Bertie bots, every flavor beans.
Debbie Donovan says Nemo is a rock star with 3 exclamation points.
No.
Yeah.
Just wanted you to know that. I like it when you blush. Okay, we'll stop doing that.
Guitar,
however, let's go to
not
the
a rock
next.
star.
I'm sorry, what was that you were doing?
I said I have a guitar, but I'm not a rock star by any
Do you
means.
play that?
Yes.
Could you play a little bit for us?
No.
Nothing?
Kumbaya, my lord. I'll sing along. You play the music.
We'll see. Wouldn't that be great?
This is descending into anarchy.
I could even do it in
it is.
Packer's voice if you wanted.
I'm known for that.
Kumbaya, my lord. Kumbaya.
Someone's touching their little factory here. Kumbaya.
I got up at 1 a.m. for this.
Yes, you did. And you're gonna be thanking God that you did.
This is going to be exhibit 15.
It's not going to matter. You're excommunicated. Trial. If this is what did it, if you literally had a chance before this conversation, then everything I know about the church has been turned upside down.
Oh, okay. So let's go to this one because this is a fun one. Real members, unlike you, Nemo, you unreal member, real members react to anti-Mormon Nemo. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay, so we've got a little clip here, and Bill's the one who can.
Do I have to watch this?
Yes, you must, because you must comment on it in more than answers of one syllable this time, please.
All right.
Because this is going to show people what it looked like. Oh no, this isn't it. I'm sorry. This is what is this guy's name on the bottom? He's like a madman. Jason Barnes. Is it Jason? No.
He's the one that was calling
Jonah.
me Nemo the Virgin, right?
Yeah, Jonah. Jonah Barnes. He's the guy in the bottom. I've got a great line about him, but I can't say it in public. I've been cautioned not to.
All right. His legal counsel has said not to do this. So
it's so bad that even I am not going to say it publicly. But here's why. This is why I came up with that comment that I'm not going to share with you, because he really, really seems you have gotten under his skin.
It would seem so, yeah.
In the words of Cole Porter. Let's play this.
I'm here and I'm fired up. I'm driving to Oxford right now. Gonna put the smack down on Nemo the Virgin because y'all can't do it. Y'all are pulling your punches and trying to be nice to Nemo the Virgin here, and it's making me kind of sick. I tuned in for some napalm from y'all, and I'm getting pussyfooting around. Okay,
Jonah.
I'm getting pussyfooting around from y'all, and it's making me angry. Okay, it's pathetic that this is the worst enemy of the church. This little dweeb. Look, I'm putting out a call to all anti-Mormons out there. We need better enemies, okay? You want to talk about anti-Mormon stuff? Talk about how Wilford Woodruff was kind of a crazy guy. Kind of crazy. We can all agree on that. Or the no beards in the temple rule. This is a stupid rule. We should all be in agreement on this. But no, you come at us with this like this kitchen sink, like shrimp gumbo thing. It's like, hey, what's it like being a member? You start talking about 1970s electroshock therapy. It's pathetic. This is our enemy. We need better antis. We go all over the world feeding people and like helping people. We decrease suicidality in LGBT people. And these are the enemies that we earn? Come on. You can do better. Cara Burrell is just not quite pretty enough. Self on the shelf, just not quite funny enough. And this, bro, this Nemo the Virgin, not doing it for me. We need better enemies. So call your friends, call your wives, call your husbands, and get some better enemies for the church out here, because it's getting boring debunking the same old garbage all the time. Jonah out.
Dude, I'm glad Jonah has a seatbelt on to hold him.
Yeah, that's amazing. If you can go back to that, I know you can't, but at that one point, there were 6 people on the screen. There was me, Nemo, Bill. There was Jonah Barnes. There was 2 other people there, right? And I was thinking the biggest enemy out of all 6 of us isn't Nemo. It's that moron who's sitting there yelling about you.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what to say other than thank you, because my goal was never to be an enemy of the church. So if I'm not a good enough enemy of the church, then I'm doing what I set out to do.
I don't know. You're kicking their ass all over the place. You've got him pissed off to the point where he's taking up 3 lanes in the highway just by himself.
Yeah,
and he wants bigger enemies.
The fact he's on the phone while driving. I mean, certainly in the UK that's incredibly illegal, but I don't know what the law is in the States.
He's not. He's on the no-fly list. He can't even make it over there.
I'm not worried about him coming here. I'm just concerned for his safety and the safety of other road users that he's on his mobile phone while driving. That seems.
You're right. No,
dangerous.
Jonah Barnes is on the no-fly list. It's his way of showing solidarity with Cardin.
I don't have a mustache. I don't have a mustache. You two both have mustaches. I'm looking at your mustaches, and your mustaches are the normal height that a mustache is. I just want to say,
What?
That guy reminded me of like an anorexic hacksaw Jim Duggan. His mustache was like 3 inches tall.
I would
Did
laugh
you guys
if I
notice
understood
that?
that
It was
reference.
what? Oh, Hacksaw Jim Duggan was a WWF wrestler in the 1980s who had a
Right.
very thick, tall beard.
I'm happy to say I didn't get that one, but that's great. I know you're going to look up a picture of him so we can compare.
No, I won't put it up there. But that guy's mustache was genetically taller than anybody else's mustache should be, and I don't know what that was about. I can't really grow facial hair right, so I don't have one. But
perhaps he has an abnormally large philtrum.
What now?
The space the space between his nose and his lip is exceptionally tall.
It's Fred Flintstone-ish.
It was again. There's another clip. Is he in the other clip too, RFM?
I can't even remember. He might be, but this other clip, I don't think so. I think he went off the road into a flaming accident.
Can I put him back on for just a second? Can I put him back on for just a second to show people the height of the mustache?
Yeah, please.
I'm sorry. Nemo's got
your bed
a
is
big
cold
breath.
and you're not going to be there until tomorrow night.
All your husbands and get some better enemies for the church out here, because it's getting
that
boring
is
to come up with
a
the same old
long mustache
all the time. Jonah out.
Dude, I'm glad Jonah. I'm glad.
All right. Anyway,
I just wanted to play that little rant so everybody can know who the real enemies of the LDS Church are.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the sort of thing he would have his major criticism of me was that I'm not saying so I'm not a good enough enemy of the church because I'm not saying the things that he would say.
That Wilford Woodruff is a little crazy, and then the church comes back with how fallible prophets are, and that's not a big deal. It seems like that criticism wouldn't even get through.
It's just bizarre. I don't want to really engage with it because it kind of just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Very good, but you're on our show, so there's that.
So there is that, and so now when they inevitably come back and say, "Oh, these anti-Mormons have been attacking us personally," the hypocrisy will be off the scale, given they just call me Nemo the Virgin.
Isn't that strange? Isn't that strange?
It's a weird
for Mormons who portraying themselves as being, I don't know, faithful, to make virgin into a joke.
Yeah,
that was a bit odd. I thought perhaps a bit telling.
Philtrum. Anyway, go ahead. Great
Let's
word.
call him Jonah Philtrum Barnes.
Yeah.
Right.
His Philtrum is Flintstone-ish in size.
Carden's mustache thinks your mustache is ridiculous.
However, it wasn't just all ranting on that show. They caught you in a lie.
Right,
they
I'm going to
showed that you are either.
Carry on.
That's okay. We were just waiting for this moment. Because this is
Cheerio.
what you're known for is eating on live shows. Did you bring any for the rest of us?
We moved on from breath mints to Doritos.
I'm glad I'm not there. That's all I can say. So here's the thing. We've got a clip from this show as well where they caught you. Either you are a base liar or you have absolutely no knowledge of things Mormon. So you shouldn't be talking about Mormonism. Then they're going to prove it right here.
Okay, cool. Cool. Yeah.
Okay, let me put that one up.
This is the last one you'll get to enjoy from the show.
Oh, what a shame.
Next 16, one. This is a new one. I haven't heard this one before, but this just kind of goes to show you this is exactly what Jonah was talking about. We need better enemies. 1632.
Okay, so here is 1632.
That polygamy in these little isolated communities is causing. Do Mormons wear special underwear? Yes, yes, they do. Yeah. There is an argument in the church that we don't like calling it special underwear and we want to give it a sacred name, but ultimately, yes, it is underwear that is unique to the LDS Church. It used to take the form of like a one-piece ankle to wrist thing, and as sort of onesie type thing that you'd wear under your clothes. It's 18th century underwear or 19th century underwear, but it's modernized over the time. Fit, fabrics, all those things have changed, and so it's now like a two-piece set to the knee, to the elbow, to the most part, of just like a t-shirt and shorts, essentially, for men and women, which women find problematic in many ways. Sort of personal hygiene.
Hold on, stop here. We got to talk about this, and then we'll move on to that next.
Wait, no. Hold on. He's got to finish saying. He just literally said, infections are rampant. Like what?
I didn't say that.
We got to talk about the first thing.
Okay.
I have no
when
infections.
we're talking about.
I'm glad.
Yeah, we're all believing that.
you guys catch what he said the garments are now? They used to be ankles to wrists, and now they are knees to elbows.
Yeah.
For the most part, I believe is what I said.
most
Yeah.
part.
Shoulders, knees, and toes.
Yeah.
That's what that reminded me of.
Like I'm feeling, finding mine are right here.
Where your
Yeah.
bicep should be.
Yeah.
Pull it down a little bit. Right
Yeah.
here. Here's my elbow. Like that.
Cool.
And this isn't the, it's like, okay, he made a mistake. He's on camera, even though he does this professionally. He got nervous. No, if we go to 245, we go to the 245 timestamp, he says this exact same thing again.
You said it again. We've caught you.
The video.
Cool.
And
We're
I
not
have
gonna
no
play it,
idea, like, there's no way that you don't know this. That you're just going to get this very, very basic fact wrong. But there's also like not really a reason to lie about it. Like, sure, it makes this look a little bit weirder.
Yeah.
Not really.
Why?
No.
This seems to be the theme of the video. It's like, okay, he's lied, but actually, no, he hasn't really. Because what was his purpose in it, and maybe why would he do that? And if
Can I
that's
tell you that 2
what they
inches
got
of cotton fabric do not make the temple garment any weirder than it is already.
No. Yeah, sure. I mean, I thought the thing they were going to get me on, and the thing that was corrected on screen because I did misspeak was, Joseph Smith and Warren Jeffs having a similar number of wives, right? And Jeffs had considerably more, and that was just a slip of the tongue in the moment, right?
Yeah.
Oh, hi, Dan Vogel.
He says you were absolutely Dan Vogel. No, he says there's also no reason to quibble. No, there isn't. And the fact is this: if this is what they are getting you on, if this is their idea of a got you on Nemo the Mormon, it makes you think that anything else is somehow not as atrocious a misrepresentation. It's even less offensive than getting the length of a garment sleeve wrong.
Yeah, I think what you're saying, RFM, is that, again, I'm not trying to say I need to put another spin on your words, but I want to put another spin on your words. Which is, if this is how they get back at him, if this is how they point out he's a liar and hurt his credibility, it seems to indicate that they don't really have anything on Nemo being a liar or dishonest about things about the church. And so they had to resort to quibbling, as Dan Vogel said, about 2 inches of fabric on a garment, because that's all they have.
Yeah, and I mean, to the point about the knee, I feel like, if I recall, they also try and address it doesn't go to the knee. Well, that's just them wearing it wrong, because the instruction in the temple is that the knee mark is just above the knee, so it really should be going to their knee. The problem is you can't get shorts that don't just have your garments exposed for most parts. So people generally wear their garments a bit shorter than they ought to on the bottom half. And then to the elbow, like, yeah, whatever, it again just depends how it fits you. It'll go further down your humerus on some people than others. So,
Your height would make a difference, wouldn't it? I mean, if you're a 5'4" person, it actually would go pretty close, probably to the elbow.
I mean, the length of my humerus on my left arm is shorter than on my right arm. So if you see, look, my shirt sleeves go to different lengths.
No way, really?
Right? See that?
I can.
So,
that's not your shirt. That's you.
So yeah, so my garment would go to my elbow there.
I thought you were just buying discounted shirts or something.
Why am I even qualifying this with a response or dignifying it with a response? Yeah, I have different length arms. Always have. So, yeah, it just depends who you are. But I said to the elbow for the most part,
Yes.
I qualified it immediately because I caught myself saying it. I was like, for the most part,
And you don't, and actually, I wasn't expecting you to try and justify it. I was just making fun of the fact that they're quibbling. If we were ever going to go to the dark side and start attacking Nemo, the first thing I'd be doing right now is I'd have Doritos here munching incessantly.
Sorry, yeah, I'll mute my microphone when I eat.
Oh, why bother now? Really? No, I'm kidding. It's fine. I just wish I had something here to eat. Of course, I'm always drinking something.
I can throw you a Kind bar.
You have Kind bars over there. Do you like those?
I love these things. They're great. This is not sponsored by Kind bars, but I'm feeling more awake now. If you can't tell, folks,
I'm starting to experience that the awakened Nemo. By the way, RFM, there's 1,038 people watching currently. 1,029 in YouTube, and then a few stragglers in other places.
I'm so sorry to all of you that you're spending your precious time on this.
This is wonderful. This is wonderful for us. You're a very popular individual. People like you, Nemo.
Yeah.
And darn it, you're just good enough. So let's go to the next thing. Oh, let's go to Elder Oaks.
Yeah.
Now, this is from the hashtag hear him, how I hear him. President Dallin H. Oaks. Little did we know when they came up with that hashtag that the him would end up referring to you, Nemo. This is how Elder Oaks hears you. And there was a certain letter that you authored documenting LDS Church leader falsehoods. You've mentioned this before. Could you tell us about that, to whom it was sent, and the response that you got?
Yep. So over a process of 18 months, I registered opposing votes against the brethren because I had reason to believe and evidence of dishonesty, that they were making publicly dishonest statements. So I put together a 3,500 word document and was kind of presenting it to my stake leaders. And they kept saying, oh, well, we can't speak to their intention. We can't say that they were lying because lying is a matter of intention, right? They could have been wrong, but I said, okay, well, why don't we ask them then? And through being a bit bolshy and sending emails directly to the First Presidency and Quorum of the 12 and other such things, I managed to get Brooke Hales coming back to me from the Office of the First Presidency, basically answering my question, what is to be done if someone, because I asked this of the brethren of the First Presidency and Quorum of the 12, what is to be done if someone has evidence of dishonesty amongst senior leaders of the church and that cannot be disproved by local leadership? And they said, well, send the evidence to us, we can investigate it, and appropriate action can be taken. So my local leaders, including my state president, and I give my state president a lot of credit for this, sent that letter on. You know, my state president put things in the email when he sent it off, like, oh, look, we've tried to counsel with him, we just can't give him the answers, so we need you guys. You know, he had to play the game. He had to play the part of the beleaguered state president. But
right,
he knows as well as I do, and I have the evidence that we were invited to send that letter, not because they couldn't satiate my questions, but because we've been invited to present that. That was clearly the mechanism by which the church wants to deal with this, until you publicize that mechanism, and then they say, oh, no, just talk to your state president, don't involve us, because they realize they've made a mistake in setting a precedent with me. But Elder Oaks was assigned to investigate it, and he said he did. It took him 3 months, and all he came back with was sending a lengthy letter to my state president, which was destroyed and I never got to read, and a link that was to be shared with me to a Fair Mormon study, a public study, he called it, that proved he did not lie in his remarks at the University of Virginia. Yeah.
So that was actually, by the way, you said how many words were in it. How many, I guess pages doesn't make a lot of sense when you're talking about an email. Maybe it does. Mine sometimes come in pages, but
it was a multi-page document, obviously. I believe there was 11 instances of dishonesty by 7 of the brethren, I think, were in
current brethren.
Current brethren.
I mean, top 15.
And Russell Ballard's since passed away.
Okay, yeah. Is it true that the number 1 on that list, ironically, was about Elder Oaks accusing him of lying when he said that electroshock therapy was not conducted at BYU while he was the president?
Yeah, so it was within the top 3. I think I might have started with Nelson's Plane of Death story, but it was in the leading top 3, and then there were the other instances that were then outlined by person, because Holland's got a couple. And what was really interesting is that the response from Fair Mormon said that there is no evidence that Dallin H. Oaks would have known that this was going on under his tenure. And I said that can't be Dallin H. Oaks' honestly held opinion, because my state presidents tried to say to me, well, that response was Dallin H. Oaks' response to you, that he believes the details in that study are true and accurate, and so he doesn't need to speak to his own honesty, he can just send you that. I said, well, in which case he's not being honest with me again, because that study says there's no evidence, and in the document I sent him, there was evidence that he knew. There were documents he signed off on about electroshock therapy and the public's reaction to it and how the church were going to manage it, because it was a big deal at the time. So he either didn't investigate and didn't read the evidence I sent him and didn't do his job properly, in which case we need to ask him to do it again, or he's lying to me by holding the position that there is no evidence and telling me there is no evidence, lying to my face because I sent him that evidence. And he knows the evidence exists because I put it in his hands.
Did he send you a yes or a no, an
No.
admission or denial of the accusation
No,
himself?
he refused to speak to his own honesty. Yeah.
Well, look, he's a lawyer. He's been a lawyer a long time. He's not a very gifted lawyer. That's why he went into the church hierarchy thing, right? He really is kind of a hack based on what I've seen of him and his legal argumentation. But he's gotten quite a ways in the LDS Church and at BYU before that, back in the 70s when he was doing this. Is it correct that Elder Oaks, after he made the statement, which was admittedly off the cuff at the University of Virginia School of Law, I think it was a couple of years ago, when he made that statement, is it true that subsequent to that, he had the opportunity to review the evidence that showed that actually it was going on during his administration, and he declined to correct the record and change his statement to reflect the truth? Is that correct?
That's what the Salt Lake Tribune article would indicate, and that was what I contended within the document, that ultimately, if he failed to recollect or was incorrect in his statements, that's one thing. But to then be given the opportunity by a newspaper that the church is known to cooperate with, and it's not some pokey little outlet, this is a major newspaper in their backyard, gave him the opportunity to put the record straight. He refused to comment. At that point, he is intentionally failing to make the truth known. And if you look at the church's handbook, chapter 30, the Gospel Principles, chapter 32, honesty, dishonesty is leading someone to believe something that isn't true by a look, a gesture, or by not speaking to it.
Yes, and he's very good at that. He's quite accomplished. By the way, I will tell you something about the law, and I'll tell it to Elder Oaks too, though he should need this education. With 11 things being alleged and his responding partially and incompletely only to the first one, is that correct, first of all? Then he has admitted the other 10.
Yes, and that's what I say to my state president. He has made a tacit admission that but because by agreeing to engage and investigate, failing to investigate the others is a tacit admission that they are true, and there is no defense that he can bring to those accusations.
Yeah, you think he'd know that. And your state president does. He gets that, doesn't he, being a lawyer?
He does.
How did he respond to that argument?
He tried to say that that's not how the law works.
Mormonism makes liars of us all. It makes us contravene the ethics of our profession.
Yeah, well, because he tried to say, you know, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, RFM. He tried to say to me that it can't be that if you don't speak to something, it's admitted. Otherwise, your right to remain silent would be incredibly problematic for people. I'm like, no, that's, as far as I understand it, that is why the right to remain silent is codified and put forward, because it means that if you don't speak, that can't be used against you. You're not speaking is your right, and so therefore they can't say, well, he didn't speak to us, so he therefore is guilty. They legitimately can't do that because it is your codified right to not say anything to them. That's why they have to tell you it's your right to not say anything to them. Is that correct?
No, absolutely not.
Cool. Well, then correct me, please.
What's true and what your state president knows is he's trying to sidetrack you and distract you.
Yeah.
Is that applies if you're charged with a crime or under investigation of a crime.
Right.
And a crime being defined as something that you can lose your liberty and get sent to Reading jail for, right?
Yeah.
This is not about a criminal inquiry. This is a civil suit. This sounds of a civil suit. And in a civil suit, if you make an allegation, which is what you do in a complaint, which are filed frequently, a complaint contains allegations. And a response to the complaint must respond to each and every one of the allegations in the complaint. It must be admitted, it must be denied, or it could be a combination, or saying, maybe I don't have enough information yet to actually answer that. But you have to answer each one. If you do not answer one of them, it is admitted under the law. And England's not the same as the United States. We're vastly superior in many ways, as you know. But we did get our legal system from you guys. So I expect this at least would be similar. Oh, there we go.
Just gonna wave this thing here.
Can I just note something?
Jack?
It looks like a super sticker. Is that the Comeback podcast? Is this the podcast that interviews people who have left and come back? Is this? I'm just curious if this is their attempt to counter what it is that Nemo has spoke to for quite some time. Certainly, what this podcast and what we've spoke to for quite some time. I don't know. Okay, he says no, so I'd be curious. Come back if you want to.
The comeback, as opposed to please come back, or dear Lord, please come back, or something.
I think the LDS Church has a comeback, the comeback podcast, or something like that.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Anyway, so okay, right. So my misunderstanding of Miranda rights aside,
thank you. The comeback, by the way.
I feel like the logic with my state president held in certainly in the discussion as we were framing it.
Yeah, it did. He was able to bamboozle you.
Yeah. Well, certainly, we got sidetracked off the original question, but the point being that the tacit admission still stands. I guess that Oakes knows he was charged with speaking to all of these, and he refused to do so.
Yeah. Well, he's very busy. What with excommunications on the rise and everything.
Yeah, that's a good segue. Is that where we're going next?
That's where we are. That's where you live and move and have your being as of the current time, Nemo.
Yeah.
So is this something here? Oh, yeah. I wanted to put this comment on. This is from Discuss Mormonism. And this is from one of my favorite posters there, everybody Wang Chung. I've been doing an awful lot of reading tonight. Bill, could you spell me here and read this salient and very, very intelligent and incisive comment by everybody Wang Chung about Nemo?
I'd love to, and I second. Great discussion board, by the way, for folks who want to sort of talk about Mormonism off and on, as well as the respect I have for everybody Wang Chung. So on Hulu, millions of Americans are watching The Secret Lives of Mormon Housewives, which follows a group of Mormon women drinking, getting arrested, infidelity, gambling addiction, and swinging. Soft swinging, Wang Chung. Also, famous BYU quarterback Brett Ingeman is one of the husbands, and it is mentioned more than once that he has an alcohol addiction and is constantly drunk. Brett used to be the poster boy for Mormonism when he played at BYU. Their TikTok group, Mom Talk, is approaching 1 billion views. But as far as I know, not one of these women or Brett Ingeman have been invited to a court of love. Instead, Nemo the Mormon, who pointed out the size of the temple is not doctrine, has been invited to attend a court of love. The church has officially jumped the shark.
Your thoughts, Nemo?
I'm not understanding what jump the shark is clearly, and I don't want to twice in one show make myself look silly. So if someone could explain to me what jump the shark is, and then I'll go from there.
Jumping the shark means to engage in activity that makes you irrelevant or ridiculous.
Tell them where it comes from.
Oh, well, I mean, that then gets into, this entire TV show that he's probably never heard of. Not only was it before he was born, it was in America.
Yeah. Go on, what's it called?
Happy Days.
Happy Days. Hey.
1, 2, 3, 4 happy days.
Yeah.
5, 6, 7, 8 happy days.
Yeah.
There he is. There's the Fonz, baby.
Yeah.
Literally jumping the shark. And so he jumped the shark. I watched it when it aired the first time back in, there it is, 77. I couldn't have told you. I knew it was in the 70s. I was in high school.
Yeah.
And even at the time, I'm watching this and going, this is so dumb.
Yeah. Okay.
This is so dumb. And so they just they're scrambling to try and make themselves relevant, to like recreate themselves to get interest in the show. And they went on for several years after this, but this was just like the moment when people say, "Oh my gosh, Fonzie is jumping the shark." This is what's called jumping the shark.
Okay, right.
So that's what everybody Wang Chung meant.
Yeah. All right. So my thoughts generally on the Hulu series. I haven't really watched it. I caught an episode when I was in Switzerland, the land of RFM's ancestors, and I was watching it with some friends. But I think. Oh, go on. Who's going to say something?
No, jumping the shark. I don't know what that is, but I yanked the snake on the regular.
Hey, no, right. No, what's this guy's excuse?
I didn't know
the middle of the night for
the
me.
show.
It's the middle of the night for me for smut and filth, but for this guy, he's drinking before 5 p.m. or whatever.
Yeah. But over there in England, it's snake yanking time, isn't it?
No, we have something called the watershed. I don't know if you know if that's a term you guys use.
I've heard of the loo.
Yeah,
The
no.
water
So
closet?
we talk about if it's past the watershed. So the watershed is the moment on British television around 8 or 9 o'clock. I can't remember what it is now. I haven't watched normal TV in a long time, but it's at the point at which then more adult language can be used and swearing and these sorts of things, right? On television. So it's the watershed. So it's past the watershed here, but you guys are still pre-watershed. So let's keep it.
You guys are still
PG.
using cable over there, huh?
No, we have satellite television.
Like Netflix and Hulu. I mean, they can just do whatever they want, you know?
Oh, they can just do whatever they want. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Cable
what everybody's
programming,
watching.
sort of thing.
Well, it's like 5 o'clock. It's watershed time somewhere.
Indeed.
5 o'clock somewhere.
And snake
So-
agent time somewhere.
Yeah. Anyway, this Hulu show is interesting for me because yes, I'm being excommunicated for challenging the brethren and doing because there's a whole argument at the moment going on about are these women Mormon, right? And they're clearly claiming their Mormon identity by being involved in this show. Some of them are, and it's not a coincidence that you can't tell which ones are active and which ones aren't just by looking, which the church would want you to be able to because the church has these standards of dress and they have garments, etc. Right? So, but these women are choosing to act differently, and some of them are still wanting to retain their identity within the church. I'm doing something very similar. RFM, you do the same, right? We're openly critical of the church and the problems within it, but we remain members of the church. And I will still go to
At least
church,
one of you does.
right?
Pretty soon, I'm going to be the cheese standing alone.
Yeah. But you know where I'm going with that, right? So in many ways, we're in a similar situation. I think the difference ultimately is what they're doing is not living up to the standards you would expect in terms of behavior and whatever and personal worthiness. What I'm doing is challenging the system itself. And it's not a matter of my personal worthiness because what I'm not actually being brought in for is personal unworthiness. This isn't a matter of my worthiness or any sin I've committed. It's about have I impacted the faith of others? Have I upset the church, etc. Right? That seems to be what it's really about.
Very good. Okay, well, we'll go on. That was very important. So what you said, so I'm not going to make the joke about how hard it is for those women on the Mormon Wives to wear today's fashions with garments that go down to the elbow. Very good. Okay, so what do we have for the next slide here, Bill? Is it this one? Can I put it up here? So we went over when is your excommunication scheduled? You were cagey about it, and you did not say 7:30 on Thursday. So let's go to the next one. What can we do to help, Nemo?
RFM, I'm gonna stop coming on this show one day. You're gonna be the
I
death
want to
of
make
me.
sure you have a good reason for that.
What can you do to help? You can absolutely write an email to nemoisinnocent@gmail.com.
Okay, wait a second. Nemo is innocent. Is
innocent
anything
at
capitalized in
gmail.com.
that?
Nope, all lowercase
Nemo is innocent
at gmail.com.
at gmail.com. And so how should these be addressed? What should they contain?
Dear State President, dear President Smith, however you want to address him. And
Isn't his name Andrew something?
Andrew Smith.
Andrew
Yeah.
Smith. It was Smith. Okay, so
Yeah.
State President Andrew Smith, and then to write about you. What should they write about you?
Can I request that people first of all be kind to him? Don't be mean. I am forwarding these, so if you're just horrible to him, I won't forward it. But if you could speak to whether I have caused you to lose faith or activity in the church, or whether it was perhaps someone else that did so. If you could also speak to whether I should be excommunicated or not based on what you've seen, that would also be helpful. I'm conducting what Down Late Oaks would call a public study into whether my actions have caused people to lose faith or activity in the church. And that study may well conclude that I haven't, and that might be sufficient for settling this matter. So,
okay, so Nemo is innocent at gmail.com.
Yep.
So that you write it out, you address it to your stake president. It's going to go to you, but then you are going to forward it to
to him, to my state president.
Okay, so you'll know the emails that he gets because they have to go through you.
Yeah.
Is it true that you're only taking letters from people with normal height mustaches?
I have no way of determining the height of people's. What was this part called?
He has an abnormally large philtrum.
So I have no way of checking your philtrum, but if you have concerns about your philtrum, please contact your medical provider, and they will be able to check your philtrum for you.
I think Jason, it's not Jonah Barnes. He may need a partial philtrum-ectomy.
Okay.
Nice. This is not funny. It's a medical condition. It's serious. Quit laughing. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. But yes, I won't be able to check the height nor width of your mustache, but I will at least be able to see the nice things you say about me, and won't that make me feel lovely and special?
Okay, now you got to answer this question though. This is a serious question.
Yeah. Okay.
Is there a certain date and time before which people need to send these emails to you so you can forward them to your state president?
Tuesday, please.
I'm sorry, what?
Tuesday.
Oh, it's not this Thursday.
Sorry.
It's not tomorrow.
It's not tomorrow.
Is it a week from tomorrow?
I can neither confirm nor deny, RFM.
Is it a week from tomorrow at 7:30?
It is next week.
Okay. Okay, so they have to have them to you by next Tuesday. Is that what you want? You want a little advance time so you can get them to your state president. He'll have a chance to read it.
Yeah, because unlike him, I would like him to have an opportunity to read certain things before the trial. I'll be gracious in that.
Okay. Well, it's very nice of you.
You can say it's nice of me when I haven't flooded his inbox with 400 emails. So.
Oh, you mean you're going to, or have you already?
I haven't already. So we'll see how I want to play this, shall we?
We will see if you can get as many emails on behalf of you as the city of Las Vegas did on behalf of building the temple.
I was thinking if it's fair in Fairview, then it's fair here, right?
Absolutely, it is. Yeah. Now there's another. Oh yeah, that's the end. That's the end slide. So I want to go to the end slide because it's such a wonderful slide. Once again, kudos to Bill for that. I love it.
No handkerchief in this one.
Oh, no handkerchief in this. Okay. So what do you say, Nemo? If you have anything you want to say here at the end, please do. But let's open the lines now and let people call into the studio at 667. No, I'm sorry. 662 667 666 7. That's 662 Mormons. So go ahead and call in. We'll take a few calls here. I think we're going to limit it to 23, like I said, and ask anything you want of Nemo, or if you just have any comments about what a fantastic bloke he is, you can share those as well.
Don't say nice things.
If you have mean things to say about Nemo.
Yeah, that's what we want. Keep me humble.
Maybe Jonah Barnes can call in from his rage vehicle.
And while we're waiting for some calls to come in, one person made a mention of like, hey, electroshock therapy is actually a useful therapy in psychology for certain things. What was the context? And I just want to report to the person who made that comment that the church used to believe that homosexuality could be cured. And where Elder Oak says it was gone by the time he came along, right? It actually originated under his presidency at BYU. And what they did was they took young male college students, hooked up electrodes to their body, and then also a different device to their penis that would gauge whether they were feeling arousal or not. And then they would show them soft porn. And if a gay male got aroused at gay pornography, then they would shock that person's body. By the way, some people think that the electrodes were actually hooked to the penis. Not true. The detection device was hooked to the penis. The electrodes were hooked to other places in the body.
They're not barbaric.
But exactly. It's the way Fair Mormon says that, as though, hey guys, chill out, right? We only strap the electrodes to like their thigh.
Right, like that makes it better.
We didn't put it on their penis. Come on, we're not savages.
Right. But the church now
makes it better.
Right. The church now acknowledges that homosexuality can't be cured this way. They don't give permission to do this sort of thing anymore. And the fact that it happened under Elder Oak's watch and he wants to portray it as not it really sort of rubs people the wrong way because he's being deeply dishonest and trying to distance himself from a thing that was atrocious.
JB Maybe is also trying to call out something atrocious, which is in the comments about the Philtrum. So while we wait for callers, I think we should address.
What,
Where
do I have
are you
the word
seeing
wrong?
that?
Is it
JB
something else?
Maybe's fact checking the Philtrum actually sits atop our Cupid's bow. It's that little bump there. And is bordered by 2 raised ridges. It is not the entire real estate that a mustache resides upon.
No, but it's the part right there in the middle. It's the Philtrum. If his Philtrum were not so large, the adjoining real estate would not be so large either.
I mean, he'd had an incredibly triangular mouth.
He's got huge tracts of land between his nose and his upper lip.
What is that a quote from?
Well, I'm sort of riffing on Holy Grail.
Oh, okay. All right.
So huge tracts of land.
I do have 3 callers in the call bank.
Now we're speaking the same language. I'm sorry, 3 callers. Go ahead.
Yep. So I think this is Jenny. Are you there? Okay, I'm going to have to try this. Again, we've run into this problem lately. It seems like no matter what we do, we end up with some sort of issue. So I'm going to try this again. Roadcaster.
I'm glad Jenny's calling, though. It sounds like a nice English girl's name, don't you think?
Yeah, let's
Jenny,
try again. Jenny, are you there? I think I hear you.
Oh, yeah, but Jenny just...
Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Oh, wonderful. I'm a little shell-shocked and a little fangirling right now.
It's completely understandable.
Yeah, RFM has that effect on people.
Yes. So, funny thing, I learned not too long ago that Bill Reel, you actually spoke with my brother when he left the church back when you were still questioning things. His name was Kyle Fishburne. I don't know if you remember that or not.
I know who that is. Yep.
Yeah, so he actually left quite a while before I did, and I was always kind of the remaining person in the family that no one thought would ever leave, including myself, yet here I am. I wanted to speak a little to, these allegations that people have of people like Nemo, RFM, all of you guys who do these podcasts of being the reason people leave. And it's not. I didn't leave because anyone put thoughts in my head. I left because the church seemed really disingenuous for a long time, and I was kind of tired of justifying things to go into that. On the contrary, the things you guys do just simply give people information, and I feel like everyone does a really good job on the most part of keeping things really civil and very fair towards the church.
Much appreciated.
Do you think we've been out of line with the Philtrum comments?
No, keep them coming. My husband, he's got a mustache and everything. Just keep all of that coming. By the way, he's not a fan of me listening to these podcasts because he still believes.
Oh, really? I think, Jenny, I think you put your finger on it, though. Really, it's not it's not so much how we're framing things. It's not like the spin we're putting on things. The problem is we're putting out information the church doesn't want its members to have.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And the church is known for doing whatever it wants. And I'll share a quick story and then I'll be off. I was actually really upset. I went to church this last Sunday, which is something I don't normally do, but my kids had their primary program, so I went. And at the end of church, I am in the restroom and a young man comes in and he is emptying the trash cans, but he didn't knock. And I looked at him, I said, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm taking out the trash." I'm like, "Okay, I see that, but you didn't knock. What would you have done if I was just like, naked in here or something?" He's like, "I'd leave." I'm like, "I know this kid." So I was like, "Okay, well, I'll get the trash, dude. Why don't you get out of here?" So I ran into a bishopric member and I was like, "Hey, so you're telling me trans people can't use the bathroom, but it's totally okay for young men to just walk in and take out the trash?" And this really bothered me because my oldest kid is non-binary. So these rules very heavily affect them. And I talked to my bishop about it, told him about it, and told him my opinions on it. But, the church has a lot of double standards. And I think it's time for them to be called out on all the things that they bend the rules on, but expect everyone else to follow blindly.
That is a great story and a great point that you made there.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add to that.
Yeah.
Appreciate it very much, Jenny.
I think it's ridiculous. Why can a trans woman not use a bathroom, but the young men can go in to empty the trash out? Please make it make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't. But what part of Mormonism makes sense? I mean, none of it.
This is true.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much, and I love you all. And Godspeed, Nemo.
And tell Kyle I said hi.
I will. Hey, by the way, Nemo, he served his mission in London, England South.
Best mission. Best mission.
Look at that.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much for calling, Ben, and thanks for watching.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
All right. Somebody wants to talk about truth membership councils.
Truth member. Oh, so in other words, we'll have a membership council about the truth. We'll include truth with compassion, like I suggested earlier.
Yeah, let's find out. Caller, what's the name?
The name is actually Truth.
Oh, okay. And you want to talk about membership councils? Go ahead.
Hey, Truth, how are you?
I'm good, RFM. It's good to hear from you again.
Unless there's more than one truth roaming
So
around.
I wanted to... No, the one and only. So I wanted to say, Nemo, I'm sorry that this is happening for you. It's obviously a very difficult situation. I have 15 years of experience presiding over and participating in disciplinary councils at the time, membership councils now. So I understand the inner workings and how all these things happen. And I will say that what's happening to you is not in alignment with my experience.
Okay.
And for me, the things that you have done have been honorable, have been focused on truth, which is really important to me. And if anyone has caused a challenge in faith toward the members of the church, it's the First Presidency, presiding bishopric, and others that were involved in, for one example, the SEC scandal between 1997 and 2019. That when we have violations of trust by members that are in prominent church positions, it's those kinds of things that impact faith. It's those things that show a lack of integrity and a lack of adherence to the principles of the gospel that we have learned and supposedly hold ourselves dear to. So this is not in alignment with my experience. This is clearly something that is motivated by the powers that be, and it's unjust. And I'm sorry you're going through this. I would love to tell you anything that I can to help you prepare based on my experience, but know that you have my support, and I'm sure the support of thousands and thousands of others as you're going through this terrible experience.
Thanks.
I've got a question for you, Truth. You didn't say, again, I know what side you're on. I'm not picking on you. I'm just trying to understand and maybe give the audience a chance to understand. But you said you were, for 15 years, you served in capacity or capacities where you dealt with church discipline courts, correct?
That is correct.
Whether you were a stake president or whether you were someone surrounding a stake president, or whether you were a bishop or someone surrounding a bishop, what you said, you said something like, this isn't the way things happened according to my experience. And I'm just curious what you would do if a 70 who oversees you, has stewardship to instruct you what to do, is told by the top 15 to reach out to you, or to reach out to the person who you were the clerk for, or the counselor for, or the executive secretary for. If the higher up leaders reach out to the leader and say to have a disciplinary court for this person who's telling the truth, it would seem like there's not much option unless you sort of just take a stand on integrity and allow yourself to be released, correct?
that's the key point. I put myself in those positions. That never happened to me, but I wonder what I would have done if it did.
Yeah.
I did have instances where I did push back against authority on smaller things, not major things, but things that I thought were important to take a stand on.
Yeah.
But you really hit on the key point there, is that you have to make a decision. Are you going to fall in line and be a quote unquote company man and toe the line, or are you going to take a stand?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that at the time when I was in, that I would have had the strength and the integrity to take a stand.
Yeah.
I know that I would today.
Yeah.
But that is really the key point. And that's a difficult position for a person to be in, especially when they may not have the perspective or the willingness to see the truth, because they're so focused on what they believe is the most important thing and God's will and all of those things. So I can understand and empathize with that position, and understand that truth and integrity is the most important thing. And if they give space for that.
Can I ask a question? I guess the question would be, given that you have been in that position and you are now in a position where you know that you would take a stand, if I'm to have any chance of convincing my stake president to disregard the orders of those above him and actually approach this court in a position where I could be let off, as it were, and there be no excommunication, how would you personally want me to walk you to that place? How would I get you from that position where you were to where you are now?
I think knowing the handbook, knowing the procedures, understanding all of the things that go into that, and being able to articulate clearly the things that you're doing, the things that you're meeting, the things that you haven't done, the things that you're not meeting, to be able to help me understand objectively where you're coming from and why, and humbly asking me if I would please consider the things that I'm saying, consider the things that I'm presenting, independently of anything else, person to person.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be what would impact me, is if I was able to see and how things line up with the procedures, and how things line up with all of the things that are set forth, and how you are coming with this truth and this integrity and all these good intentions, and focusing on the things that are really most important. If anything, that would be what would impact me and influence me in that direction.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I'll take that on board. Thank you.
Well, that's probably better than what I would do, which would be to challenge your stake president's masculinity. Are you going to let yourself be pushed around? But okay.
A challenge you would no doubt win if it came to a physical contest, RFM.
Oh, yeah.
21 more calls to get through, so...
How many?
21 more calls, Nemo. We're getting closer to the end.
So actually, there's just 2 more calls. So we'll just
got a lot of jelly beans there.
Finish up with these.
2 more calls?
Yeah. So caller. Okay.
Hello?
Yep, you're on. What's the name?
Hey, it's Jeff.
Jeff, how are you?
Hi, Jeff.
Jeff?
The delay got me. I'm doing well. How are y'all?
Good.
Thank you.
Good as can be.
All right. I'm just going to go. The delay with me here. Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah. I'm a little like Jenny. Just got a little fangirl. Had to call and say hey to Nemo. Just thanks for your work, and hate that you're having to deal with this. I really had no idea how weird it is to really see what's on the back end of this. Sorry, Phil. Go ahead.
I didn't say anything.
No, I just said hi to you. Sorry.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Nemo.
Hi.
Yeah. So, yeah, just to echo Jenny a little bit, like what Nemo is doing didn't make me leave the church. I left the church 20 some years ago, but then a couple years ago found out about the CES letter and found myself playing like a accidental apologist role, standing up for things that I've been taught, not really knowing that other things were out there. So I've been kind of diving in for the past 2 years, learning all this new stuff and old stuff that I'd never heard before. And I guess that kind of leads into my question with new stuff. One of my favorite things about new stuff is your general conference recaps. So I'm wondering if you have plans to continue those for us so we don't have to all suffer through 10 hours of that.
Yeah, I will continue. I think one of the things that's worried my leaders maybe is I asked to attend this general conference coming up in person. I asked for tickets through my stake because they announced in sacrament meeting that we should approach the bishop if we want tickets to go to the conference. And the plan was I was going to be in Utah. So I said, oh, well, I'm going to be there. So could I have a ticket, please? And my stake president denied my request, but denied it with prejudice because he came back kind of talking badly about my halftime shows and how they're not good and whatever. And that's the first time he has ever spoken negatively about what I do online. And that was kind of sort of writing on the wall to think, okay, maybe someone's putting pressure on him now. But rest assured, the halftime shows will not end.
Well, Nemo and General Conference, what could go wrong?
Glad to hear that. Yeah, they're awesome. Love it.
What could go wrong?
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Is it
that
Jeff?
came to mind actually when this news first came out? Like, yeah.
No, go ahead. There's a long delay. Go ahead, my friend. Finish your thought.
Okay. Yeah, there is. Yeah. Just when I first heard the news, this came to mind, like General Conference is coming up. Oh, I wonder if they're going to try and quell the opposition votes or the halftime shows or anything like that because they know it's coming. And just, the timing lined up. Anyway, that was it. Go ahead, Bill.
Is it Jeff? Because it sounded like you corrected me and said it's Jeff. Is it Jeff, Jeff, or something like that?
Yeah, Jeff.
Okay,
yep.
Sweet. Well, thank you for the call, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff. Thank you.
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks for having me.
Bye-bye.
And great luck, Nemo. All the best. Hope you get exactly what you want out of this.
Thanks.
May all your wildest dreams come true, Nemo.
We've got one more call, but hang on a second. Just a second, Bill. Nemo, if you could get what you want out of this, what would it be?
To not be excommunicated and to just carry on as I have been. I was quite happy how I was.
It should be allowed to point out where LDS leaders are dishonest, and it should be allowed to point out where the church truth claims don't match with the facts.
Mm-hmm.
That seems like that should be allowed. There shouldn't be any violation of those two things.
Yeah, and I was speaking to a family member the other day. I won't name them, but they're an individual on the more sort of believing side of things, although they do still talk to me, which is nice. And they kind of said, yeah, but you were digging, weren't you? You were looking for stuff, weren't you? I said, well, yeah, when's it ever been a crime to investigate your faith? When's it ever been a crime to study the church and to look into things and study things? And they kind of said, oh, yeah, that's a good point. That kind of sort of, I think, broke through. When you frame it like that, ultimately, that is what I'm charged with, is making public statements that share the things I've discovered once I started taking a more objective look at my faith and my church.
Yeah, I could have seen saying something like, well, Joseph Smith went digging for things too. But Nemo, I only ask this not because I'm personally interested, but because I know a lot of people are.
Yeah.
What does your activity in the church look like?
Going to church, taking the sacrament.
You go to church every Sunday?
Not every Sunday. I have an agreement with my wife because my wife is not interested in going to church at all, and she wants her second Saturday, and she wants to spend more time with me. I don't know why she wants to spend time with me, but she does. So, yeah, I go usually kind of half the time, so 2 Sundays a month, if I'm not traveling around.
So you would be on the rolls. In other words, you would be counted as being active.
Oh, yeah. I blessed the sacrament maybe a couple of months ago now, when it was all up in the air about whether I could use my priesthood or not.
Was there a problem when the bread burst into flames?
No, there wasn't a problem at all. And I don't think the church will like the fact that, they tried to stop me openly using my priesthood when I set someone apart in a safeguarding role in church. When we got background checks instituted in the UK, one of the people involved in doing that was set apart as their stake safeguarding officer. And I was involved in their setting apart. And that was mentioned in the Salt Lake Tribune, and that made some people very unhappy.
It's kind of cool that the government there created a church calling.
Yeah. So, well, wasn't it government? It was us, because there was no legal requirement for the church to do background checks here in the UK. We just pushed for it, and it happened.
Gotcha.
So the church didn't like the fact that we were talking about how activism caused this change. And then they certainly didn't like the idea that the activists were both receiving callings to oversee the new changes and being involved in setting those people apart. So there was an effort after that to kind of undermine my ability to use the priesthood. But yeah, I was, doing Mormon things.
And did you say when that was that you set apart the person?
It's just over a year ago.
Over a year ago?
Summer last year, yeah.
So do you have any plans between now and a week from Thursday evening to be giving as many women as possible the priesthood?
I'm determined to forcefully rebaptize Peter Bleakley into the church. He will not spend any time with me near a body of water for that reason. Just in case I rugby tackle him into the water and forcefully baptize him.
That's very, very good. Now he got excommunicated, didn't he? He got the big A on his Pope hat.
Yeah, he made himself a sort of papal apostate hat.
Like a mitre, something.
Yeah, and he was there doing this, and yeah. So Peter Bleakley was the last person sort of excommunicated in the UK for apostasy that we're aware of.
Just FYI, somebody in the comments is asking what is set apart, and their name sounds very foreign. I'm not going to explain that here. So those of you in the comments, if somebody will sort of help Gali Sinatra know what that means in Mormon language. Thank you.
Yeah, the last person before Peter Bleakley to get excommunicated by the English was Joan of Arc.
Poor Peter. Joan of Arc. Yeah, she was a tortured soul, man. They really got to her back in the day when persecution could be a little rougher than a church court. They really gave it to her, man.
Are you saying a tortured soul?
They raped her and all kinds of things. It was horrific what they did to Joan of Arc.
Yeah,
it was horrific. Yeah. No one should have to suffer like that.
And what do you have to say about doing that to Joan of Arc, Nemo?
I'm not responsible for the work of my countrymen in years gone by. And that's a defense I'm sure you guys would also like to reserve for yourselves, so I wouldn't challenge it too deeply.
I'm sorry for all the things that England brought to America when we were in the colonial state. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm gonna get this last call in.
Okay, we will, because we're determined to keep Nemo up until
this is the last one. All right, this is just somebody who wants to give a voice of support. Feel free to say your name and go ahead, caller.
Hey, good evening. My name is Tony.
Yep.
And Bill, thank you for taking my call.
You're welcome.
Hey, first of all, hey Nemo, I think I speak on behalf of a lot of people that you have such great respect, and so many of us are supporting you. So we have to go into that court. Just know that so many people who are not present with you will be standing with you, and I know it's a tough place to be. I am curious, Nemo. I do have a little bit of experience with the church disciplinary system, and now that the High Council apparently will not be involved. Normally, if the High Council is there, you have a High Counselor that is appointed to be your advocate, to basically plead your case once you leave amongst the court. How does that work now? Do you know how that works now that the High Council will not be there?
I don't. They haven't given me any sort of information on that. So I feel like it's probably going to be that I end up having to advocate for myself.
Okay, that's probably part of the reason they got rid of the High Counselors, I guess. Hey, Nemo, well, first of all, on a personal level, I've contacted you a few times, and I've reached out to you and Bill's on various programs. Bill and other folks have been kind enough to post my comments. And I remember probably about a year or so ago, once the story broke that you broke about you emailing the First Presidency and the Court of 12 about your issues with them lying in public and challenging their ability to lead based off their record. I posted a comment and said, "Hey, Nemo, why don't you just leave the church? It'd be a lot easier on you." And you took time to address my comment and said, "Because I think I can make a difference in changing the church from within." And I respect you for that comment. I still do. Sadly, I think Nemo, I think all of us kind of feel it that this is unfortunately not a decision your state president controls. It's been mandated to him, and it's time to shut you out. I think I heard you say earlier that you will continue to be an advocate for the church, not against the church. Once if potentially you are separated from the church, is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's correct.
And I would just say one thing recently that you posted I thought was very fair is that we have been critical of church, but you've never done it mean-spirited. You've always been very fair. You've always been factual, and you've never alluded to things. If you couldn't show it, you didn't say it. But I will say one thing I was really impressed with you, and I forgot where it was at. I know it was north of Worcestershire. I think it was in Gloucester. I don't remember, but it was the oldest church in the UK. Local members have purchased it for I thought it was £5,000 or something. And they renovated that church. Do you remember that story, Nemo?
Yeah, Gadfield Elm Chapel.
And you advocated on behalf of the saints and the UK and England for the church, the larger church, to help maintain that. And I would think, and in my letter to your state president, I will try to mention that. But you've been a good advocate for the church, Nemo.
Thanks.
I just want to tell you that I really think as tough as you've been on the church, you've also been fair. And I know you love the church, Nemo. I know it's going to hurt you, and I hope I've listened to a few of your podcasts, probably all of your podcasts. I know that I think I get an impression that you're very close to your mother, who I believe is a devout member of the church. Mm-hmm. And I hope that if that is the case, your relationship with your mother has not been affected by this.
Yeah. No, it's tough on her, but yeah, we've still got a good relationship. So
that's good to hear. And if you could, I know you try to keep your private life private. I respect that. How's your wife taking all of this?
She's doing well. She's gonna speak at the disciplinary hearing, so she'll get a chance to say what she wants to say. Yeah.
All right. Well, Nemo, I appreciate everything you've done. I know it's not the end, and I want to say, I will say, because I left the church probably about 15 or so years ago. I don't have the platform you have, and I'm not the right person, but you are. And I can only imagine what the future holds for you. And I wish the church could be smart enough to understand that you're a better advocate within the church than without the church. But I look forward to your future ventures. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
That was very nice of Tony. Yeah, maybe you can get him to be at your council.
Well, I mean, there's people like Tony and lots of people that have sent emails that I wish could be there, but they, if they send the emails in, they will get to be there in some form. Their words will have to be considered.
Your wife's got to be concerned about your feelings, but on the other hand, she's getting second Saturdays from here on out.
Yeah, well, yeah, I can still go to church. I just can't really speak, so we'll see what that dynamic looks like.
Do you think you'd be able to do that?
We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see. Yeah. Oh, Bill,
you can do it.
I'm actually quite impressed that you still go to church twice a month. I mean, kudos to you.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's a little less. Más o menos, Jeffrey R. Holland qualifiers there.
We're building double-digit stakes every week of our lives. Yeah.
I'm attending double digits every month. There are months when I'm traveling a lot, and so I'm not there, for a month or so, and then I come back, and the joke from my bishop is, oh, it's good. Where have you just been, and where are you going to next week? And because I have been traveling around a lot recently. But yeah, I would still be seen as an active member on the records for sure.
So Nemo, is there anything else you want to say before we close this podcast? Like what the dawn looks like outside your window?
Well, it is currently 3:20 a.m. No dawn as of yet. That'll be a couple of hours away. Quite high latitude here.
Like me.
Yes.
I bless you that you'll be able to get back to sleep quickly.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
I can't think of anything else to say really, because I'm not. Comic Sans says I didn't know Nemo spoke Spanish. I don't. My German's pretty good, but I don't speak Spanish. So
can you say
apologies.
Mein Taint? Oh, I'm sorry. Nobody knows that. Okay. Anyway, never mind.
Enough about RFM specialty
joke,
literature.
Like 5 people get it. I forgot it hasn't been published yet. My apologies. So Nemo, if you're done, let me just say a few nice things about you, and then we'll get you out of here. Okay.
Right.
Okay. There's 2 things that you don't know.
Okay.
Nemo. The first thing is how much you are loved. And the second thing is by how many people. Even if you tried to imagine, you would come up way short. So I just want you to know that you are loved more than you know, by more people than you know, and they and we and I will be with you in spirit at your council, and maybe we'll have a closer approximation as to when it will be as time progresses. But I understand it will be next week, sometime after Tuesday, because that's the deadline for everybody to get in their emails to your stake president, which are to be sent to Nemo is innocent. Nemo is innocent at gmail.com. Yeah, look at this. All this. Amen, RFM. Yes. Everybody loves Nemo. You could have your own TV show after your excommunication.
I can't do the Ray Romano voice, though.
You'll have time to work on it. Believe me.
Okay.
So, Nemo, you're great. Please, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been very difficult for you. I didn't know you weren't feeling well, but I mean, it's like the middle of the night there. You went to sleep. You got up for us. So thank you. And on behalf of the audience, because I know you didn't do it just for us, but for the audience who's very interested in what's going on, wants to know what's happening with Nemo, and want to be here to support you. So thank you, Nemo. Get back to bed. We love you dearly, and we wish you the best.
Thank you.
Thanks. So long, everybody.
Have a good night.
Go ahead, RFM. Sorry. Was that what you wanted to do?
No, but good night, everybody. And join us Friday at 8:00 p.m. Mountain Time for Mormonism After Dark.
Yep. I'll have my adult beverage ready, and I think you will too.
Oh,
I won't be there. I will be asleep.
Yeah. You'll be missing out on more laughs than a Mormon should have.
Yeah.
Okay.
If we were doing it in England, it would be Mormonism Before Dawn.
Well, maybe when I'm next in the US.
The door is open. The red carpet is rolled out for you, my friend.
Wonderful.
Talk to you later. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Good night.
Bye, everyone.